Queen began 1972 with a gig at Bedford College, London, where only 6 people turned up. Freddie was 25 and in love.
Mary Austin worked in a shop. She worked in Bieber. Brian dated her before Freddie did. And then eventually she met Freddie. They saw something in each other.
Freddie's relationship with Mary Austin would be one of the most defining of his life.
He adored Mary, and she adored him. Completely and utterly soulmates.
Mary was a big emotional support for him. They were a partnership. Maybe a complex partnership, but it was a partnership.
Often, homosexual feelings can be latent, so it's not unusual for a gay man to have a sexual relationship with a woman. But what's interesting about this partnership is how it played out very conventionally, very quickly.
And they lived together as man and wife. And they latched together very quickly. It was very domesticated, their little flat. It would be proper cups and saucers and plates of biscuits and little sandwiches, and almost like they were having a toy tea party, you know, with teddies and dolls around and things, all very innocent and all very lovely.
I would define Freddie and Mary's relationship as being interdependent. They were individually stronger together than apart, and this created a mutual support system.
Like Freddie, Mary had had an unconventional childhood.
Both her parents were deaf, and she was an only child. She hadn't had a normal upbringing because of the disabilities of her parents.
As the only child of deaf parents, Mary was adept at understanding non-verbal communication. Body language broadcasts your true feelings and intentions and makes it harder to lie or pretend. Mary would have been able to see through the bravado of Freddie Mercury and into the soul of Farouk Bulsara.
So he was very much 2 different people to the powerful, kind of macho Fred you see on stage. That he had a completely different side. Mary saw him develop and evolve. She was always totally dedicated to him, totally dedicated, and he was to her.
He gave her an engagement ring. Months later, he hadn't mentioned any more about the wedding, and so she said, "Do you think I should get that wedding dress?" He said, "I think we leave it a little longer."
But he could not ignore his attraction to men. And it's clear from this rare interview with Mary that she soon noticed a distinct change in Freddie.
I could see that he was feeling bad about something. Wasn't feeling comfortable, avoiding situations, which wasn't Freddie. These things weren't the person that I first met.
At this point, he's no longer faithful to her. And eventually he goes home and says to her, "I'm afraid I have something to tell you. I think I'm bisexual." And she was the one who said, "No, Freddie, I think you're gay." So she put it to him, almost giving him permission to go out and experiment and do whatever he wanted to.
Mary was the closest person in his life, and being able to tell her about his sexuality was highly significant. It shows how he was able to be vulnerable with her in a way that he wasn't with his parents.
I'm sure Freddie knew that his parents knew, but they didn't want to hear it from him, so he wasn't going to tell them. Obviously, his lifestyle didn't fit with their religion.
Freddie would have been very aware of not bringing his family into disrepute and not causing them embarrassment or heaping shame on them. So the lifestyle that he lived was necessarily private.
Although Freddie and Mary's sexual relationship ended, their strong emotional bond continued.